Israel is at war. What does it mean for Ukraine and for the whole world? Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV English, giving you some hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine strongly condemns terrorism and violence against civilians in Israel. Of course, we stand in solidarity with the people of Israel because we all in Ukraine know what it is like to fight the terror, and we express our sincere sympathy to the families of victims of monstrous attacks of Islamist terror group named Hamas. Unfortunately, we know too well what it is like. The horrific acts of violence committed by Hamas against the Israelis, including women, children and elderly, are accurately echoing the terrible atrocities of Russian occupation during the Kremlin's war of terror in Ukraine, Bucha, Irpin and other Ukrainian cities since 2022. Terrorism is a bloodbath, and its acts of wild brutality, as per the Kremlin's plans, should frighten the world, increase the danger of even more violent acts and lead to more innocent victims. After Hamas' attack on Israel, Russia has attacked Ukraine with a massive disinformation campaign, trying to somehow link Ukraine to Hamas terrorists in their attack on Israel. Are these accusations true? Well, suit yourself. Hamas' attack on Israel was also synchronized with massive attacks by Russian troops on the Kupiansk, Liman and Marinka directions. No surprise, Putin wants the new source of pain and suffering in the world to undermine unity, to distract the international community from the war of aggression and heinous war crimes in Ukraine, to increase discord and contradictions. Russian propaganda does its bloody deeds and openly gloats over the tragedy of the people of Israel, while Iran, Russia's closest ally in terror in the Middle East, is openly supporting Hamas terrorists. Ukraine calls to what must be the obvious reaction to all this, to maintain unity in preventing terror and violence against civilians worldwide, defending life and the rules-based order at all costs, including military. Speaking in Brussels on this October 11th, President Zelensky urged world leaders to visit Israel in person and support its people suffering from terrorist attacks upon relevant invitations from the Israeli side, of course. The Ukrainian leader underlined that strongly worldwide support during such a difficult time is crucial to oppose and defeat terror. As of today, a hard Middle East truth, if you will, in easy Israeli terms, looks less like that. Palestine is Hamas, and it will share Hamas' fate no matter what. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to inflict heavy losses on Russian occupiers. Russian occupation troops are trying to advance on the northeastern front between Liman and Kupiansk to distract Ukrainian forces. Occupiers are launching more than 700 strikes on the Kupiansk-Liman axis per day. Russia also deploys its reserves north of Bakhmut to stop the headway of the armed forces of Ukraine. Fierce fighting continues at the approaches to the city, with Ukrainian defenders inflicting maximum damage on Russian occupation troops near Bakhmut. The armed forces of Ukraine approach to the combat directly corresponds to complex contemporary battle necessities of the newest era. Also worth noting that Ukraine's defenders conduct this counteroffensive without air support and are compelled to be highly adaptive, flexible and able to change swiftly in real time. Russia's occupation forces continue to expand and strengthen defense fortifications on the outskirts of the city of Tokmak. Rightfully fearing a breakthrough of the front by our defenders, Russian occupiers have also started evacuating their families from Tokmak. Well, let me just remind you how Russians treat our Ukrainian families. On October 5th, 2023, Russia carried out a barbaric missile attack on a civilian cafe in the village of Groza in Kharkiv Oblast, where family and friends had gathered together to say their last farewells to a soldier killed in action. At least 56 civilians died as a result of this terror attack, leaving each household in the village devastated.
Well, I've just come from meeting President Zelensky where we discussed this horrific attack that has just happened. It just illustrates Russia's barbarity, and President Putin can say all he likes. There is one person responsible for this illegal, unprovoked war, and it is him, and he should stop.
Back to counter-offensive update. Ukraine has made remarkable progress in halting Russia's military aggression in the Black Sea region. Out of fear for Ukraine's drones and missiles, the Russian Black Sea Fleet Navy has left the port of Sevastopol in the temporarily occupied Crimea and went east to the harbor of Novorossiysk in Russia. Things going south for them again, and Ukraine, a country with almost none major navy capabilities, has managed to push Russia out of a major portion of the Black Sea. This is what happens when you're fighting for your own homeland. After a certain age, no one should believe in two things: that pink unicorns exist and that Hamas has planned can carry out such a massive attack on Israel on its own. The tactics of Hamas, assault operations followed by UAV dropping ammunition, is exactly the same of that of Russian Partisans. Russian PMC Wagner mercenaries trained Hamas terrorists. Hamas militants use modern Russian-made weapons, in particular the new version of AK-103 assault rifle, so no, there are no unicorns. And yes, Russian and Hamas terrorism are evil of one and the same origin. Let me put the hard truth in a very easy term for you now. This is the question of a survival of a Western civilization, no less. If the world that considers itself even somewhat free and somewhat civilized won't do everything, anything, to read my lips, destroy, eliminate, wipe out the evil of international terroristic evil from the face of the earth, and this very face will shortly be disfigured by it beyond recognition. Israel and Ukraine should win. Otherwise, whether you like it or not, it marks the end of the Western civilization, no less. Ukraine's air defense must be strengthened as winter approaches. Russia is stockpiling missiles and kamikaze drones for the upcoming winter season to launch strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Let me remind you how we survived last winter. Obviously, only effective protection of the Ukrainian sky by providing additional air and missile defense systems will ensure life, light and warmth in our homes in Ukraine. As President Zelensky underlined in Brussels on October 11, 2023, the closed Ukrainian skies is the only guarantee that more or less normal life in the cities of Ukraine, in terms of economy, of usual everyday life of the people, will continue. Closed skies also means the normal functioning of corridors in the Black Sea and the Danube region. Closed skies will ensure Russian jets are unable to approach our borders. Closed skies only solves the issue of Russian-guided bombs. Additional air defense is a must to help to protect people, provide Ukrainian families with the very opportunity to live, and allow our country to accumulate economic activities. Stronger air defense will let more of our children study in schools, not only online, and more of our people to return from abroad. In easy terms, the stronger we are socially and economically, the more powerful we will get militarily. We will be able to ensure the work of a greater capacity of defense industries in Ukraine, depend much less on the assistance, and provide more support to frontline. We must win the winter battle against terror. We can win it, and along with it, we can win the battle of how and on whose terms this war will end. Ukraine can survive, and it will survive. Just help us to snatch the winter terror weapon out of the hands of our enemy. Ukraine fosters internal reforms as part of its top priorities. Ukraine has clearly demonstrated its desire and determination to transform according to European standards. We continue to move tirelessly towards the full implementation of all the international reforms.
It's above all about EU's enlargement. We know that it is our intention to finally accept the Western Balkans countries in the European Union after 20 years of promises. We also have such plans with Moldova and Ukraine, and perspectively also with Georgia.
Ukraine is the driver of its own transformation, as we realize that our country needs it the most. Everything that weakens our state just must be eliminated. In June 2022, Ukraine achieved the status EU membership candidate. To open the EU accession talks, Ukraine has to fulfill 7 recommendations laid out by the European Commission. And that is, number 1, the constitutional court reform. 2, continuation of judicial reform. 3, strengthening the fight against corruption, including the appointment of the head of the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office. Number 4, fight against money laundering. 5th is the implementation of the anti-oligarchic law. 6, media sphere development in accordance with the EU standards. And number 7, finally, change in the legislation on national minorities.
Already this year, Ukraine will be ready to start negotiations on membership in the European Union. Our movement in the EU is a way to ensure geopolitical stability in the east of Europe.
Ukraine has implemented almost all of its homework and aims at opening EU accession talks until the end of 2023. The work of the High Council of Justice has been resumed, and the formation of the members of the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine has been completed. The Ukrainian parliament adopted the law on media and also made changes to the law on advertising in full accordance with the recommendations of the European Commission. The parliament has also adopted necessary laws for the constitutional court reform and a transparent and professional selection of judges. In 2023, the heads of key independent anti-corruption institutions were appointed, namely the High Anti-Corruption Court, the Agency for Investigation and Asset Management, and the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. The heads of the SAPO and NABU were elected as a result of transparent competition with the participation of international experts, of course. With President Zelensky's strong leadership and initiative, the Ukrainian parliament has also fully restored the electronic asset declaration for civil servants. Ukrainian law enforcement is actively, and I would even dare to say successfully, combating corruption. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine reported that the number of persons exposed for corruption in the second half of 2022 became a record in the history of anti-corruption bodies. And it is not only us talking good about us. On March 24, 2023, the group of states against corruption, GRECO, acknowledged Ukraine's significant progress in preventing corruption. The fight against corruption remains a top priority for the Ukrainian government and the nation. As a candidate country and future member of the European Union, Ukraine expects to open accession talks by the end of this year and relies on relevant decisions of the European Council in December. It is crucial that the EU upholds its commitments vis-à-vis Ukraine's European integration. And now time for more on UATV. The question of the day by user Fahrenheit 1100. The question is, what sanctions would cripple Russia most, that has been used would be most effective and this time? Some sanctions are working better than others. Some are not working at all. The loopholes exist and Russians, of course, are using them. However, I have an answer to your question, and this answer is quite simple. Only absolute and total economical isolation of Putin's empire would cripple the Kremlin and can be considered most effective. But it never happens. Why? Well, before I even answer, imagine yourself an owner of a marine vessel fleet. Nothing large, but 3-5 vessel maybe. You do your business, deliver cargo worldwide via sea. The war in Ukraine, sure thing, you've heard of it. You do not care much. You probably think that Ukraine and Russia can and should somehow negotiate already to end it all as soon as possible at any cost, because it makes your costs rise. Then, one fine day, some business intermediary reaches out to you with an offer. You deliver products of European origin to clients' desired destination. All looks legit. You look into the bills of lading and suddenly you see that these are nothing but re-exported Russian goods that otherwise should be sanctioned. But somehow the origin is now changed. And now it is a sort of a not Russian but a European one. But before even asking your questions of concerns to that intermediary, you get 30% extra on your delivery price instead of any answer. And a firm contract ensuring all of your vessels are fully loaded around the year with extra 30% profit. My question in return to you, dear Fahrenheit 1100, would you dare to reject such a lucrative offer so only to cripple the Kremlin? Well, there you go. It was Henry Keane breaking the hard truth in easy terms for you in our weekly wrap-up today. Please do not hesitate to like, comment and subscribe. Let us know what you think. We care for your opinion. Ask us a question, and next time in our weekly episode, I'll do my best to answer it. Stay safe and tune for more. Already tomorrow.